to the Manchester United side, Lummans. But this is his pass map against Liverpool on Sunday. The red are the incomplete passes, the green are the ones that found a teammate. And of 46 passes, just one here. This little short line here was the only one that was short to a teammate. That was to Diogo Dalot in around about the 20th minute. The rest, 45 out of 46, were long passes, and one around about, I reckon about here, Jamie, led to the first goal.
Yeah, and listen, when you talk about teams playing direct football, having a low block, as Arne Slot mentioned, it's always seen as a criticism. Ruben Amorim got his tactics absolutely spot on in this game at Anfield. There's no doubt about that. That's the only way they could win the game. So we're going to look at the goal here initially in terms of the direct play. But it's not just about going long. Let's remember who he actually picked. He didn't pick Sesko, he picked Cunha to be underneath the ball. And what's really important here when we see this first challenge is we've got the back five of Manchester United, 3 centre-backs, 2 wing-backs quite wide. But the really important thing here to note is how narrow these players are here underneath the ball. So it's not just go long, it's about picking up the second ball. Another really important point is nobody ever goes for the ball in behind in terms of a flick on or if Virgil van Dijk misses it. So again, I mentioned Cunha being a little bit deeper than maybe a Sesko would be. So it was all about maybe we don't win the first ball, but we pick the second ball up here, and look how narrow the Manchester United 5 players are here. And that's where this goal comes from. Then Harry Maguire wins it again. And because of the initial position of these players, look how narrow Mason Mount is. Bruno Fernandes does really well. Liverpool a little bit unfortunate, the McAllister one, there's no doubt about that. But I just want to stop it here. That is where the goal is going to be scored here. Now, we mentioned Virgil van Dijk, me and Gary, a lot on commentary, that he's got to get back quicker. And there's absolutely no doubt about that. But the guy alongside him, Konate, who I thought had a brilliant game, has got to do the same. So when Diallo was on the ball, now Konate is the closest man to getting to where this ball is, first of all. So he's 27 yards away. Then we look at where Virgil van Dijk is. He's 30 yards away from that. And then you look at where Mbeumo is there. He's 31 yards away. Now, what I would say is, if that was me in Virgil van Dijk or Konate position, maybe he beats me to the ball. But these are 2 of the quickest centre-backs in the Premier League, and they've got to start on him as well, and they've just got to do more. They've got to sprint back and get there before he does. But it's a brilliant start for Manchester United, no doubt, as I said, so early into the game, and we see it from a different angle as well here, and probably just highlights a little bit more as well on Konate. And could he get across in that position? But you see Manchester United keeping the ball alive. Again, as we mentioned, numbers centrally, and the 2 centre-backs have just got to get back. But fair play to him, he's busting a gut to get in there. Ryan Mbeumo, right foot, and they find themselves 1-0. And he created other chances. And again, I just want to look at this sort of setup again. Harry Maguire, now look at Casemiro, go long, go long. Look at the manager down here, he's not even looking at the game. He's not watching, he knows this ball is going long. Again, no one running in behind to try and get on the second ball, in behind. Normally that happens. Again, look at those 5 players inside. Again, the 2 central midfield players and the 3 attacking players really narrow, really together to make sure they pick up the second ball. And this is, again, when you come into this system causing Liverpool problems. Kerkez up against the wing-back, and Mbeumo trying to drag Virgil van Dijk out, who had problems all afternoon getting dragged into those wide areas. And Manchester United, through Mason Mount, again being narrow, could be 2-0 up. So the tactic of going long was absolutely spot on. Now, there's talk of, again, Manchester United playing a low block. And it's seen as criticism for Arne Slot. It's not. It was the right thing to do. And I'm going to show you a couple of occasions why it was the right thing to do for Manchester United, and the manager got it right tactically. Because on the couple of occasions when Manchester United actually tried to go after Liverpool and press, Cunha tries to press there, Gravenberch. Casemiro's pushing in behind him. Luke Shaw now goes in with Mo Salah. And before you know it, They're not in that low block, and that's where Manchester United have problems. Whether it's Bruno Fernandes or Casemiro in those positions, if they get caught out, there'll be space in behind them. The ball then goes into Mo Salah with space because Manchester United have tried to press high and get after Liverpool. And this is the chance for Gakpo where he hits the post. And again, that's when Man United are at their worst, when the team is spread out. Again, it's a chance, this one. Hits the woodwork from Gakpo, but Manchester United pressing, Diallo, Mbeumo, Casemiro goes. Mason Mount was about to go. Before you know, it's a long ball. The team are separated. Lovely touch from Liverpool, and this is where Gakpo almost scores again. But again, it comes from Manchester United pressing high. You look at the players getting back into the box, big distance into the cover, and that's why they were right not to go after Liverpool and play in that 5-4-1 low block.
You agree, Gary? The low block and the long balls was the perfect solution?
Yeah, and I think the game suits Amorim and where Manchester United are at the moment. I think he's had some of his best results and performances in games where he can be the team that sits off. And that system suits that. It's very, very difficult, I think, to get after teams when you're in a 5-4-1. And you've seen in previous matches, like Jamie highlighted there from them two clips, where if Fernandes and Casemiro step forward and you can get in behind them. Fulham, I remember listening to a chat with Marco Silva about using Iwobi to get behind them. They cause them loads of problems. So it's a fantastic result and the game plan works perfectly from Ruben Amorim. But I think there will be more difficult tests for him, which sounds strange. Going to Anfield is a tough test. But in like a tactical sense, trying to get that team to be the dominant force that presses, regains the ball, controls the game. I think trying to do that in that system will be a bigger challenge.
Maybe even Saturday against Brighton at home.
Yeah, will be a challenge, definitely.
We know how well Brighton have done at Old Trafford in recent seasons. What about the small details as well?
Yeah, I think when I go back to the winning goal, and when I rewatched the game again last night when I came down to London, this stood out on me throw-ins. We talk about small details in the game, so just stop it now. Now, what they did as soon as Liverpool couldn't take a quick throw-in, it was almost like a set piece, Cunha stopped the ball going back to the centre-back. And Mbeumo here on this side, we know where he normally plays, normally from this side. He is so narrow from a right-sided attacking player. So what that's about is almost being man-to-man from the throw-in and lock Liverpool in and don't make it easy for them just to go round the back to the goalkeeper and out the other side. So we see the problems Liverpool had with throw-ins. They make a challenge, they get the throw-in again now with Conor Bradley. Again, the same setup. Look how narrow they are on this side. Again, stopping the ball going back to the centre-back. It's a poor throw-in from Conor Bradley. Manchester United win the ball easily. Ball comes out this side, goes out for a throw-in now. Carragher wants to take the throw-in quick. Keep an eye on this guy here. He's dropping in, but he realises his job is to go here and stop the ball coming to the centre-back. He's now screaming at Casemiro, you've got to get in there and stop the ball going in there. Now they locked him in. Mason Mount comes over from that side, really narrow. Now it's a man-to-man system here, stopping the easy ball to go back and Liverpool to build round the other side. And Carragher, as I said, he's not quite sure what to do. He's looking round, he's looking for help. Listen, he gives a foul throw away. Now, the reason I'm showing that, because it takes me to the winning goal. Now, this is Manchester United. Late in the game, we now know Szoboszlai's gone to right back. Now, there's been a lot of talk about a really poor throw-in from Szoboszlai from Liverpool supporters, and yes, that is true. But this little detail of Manchester United that they've been doing right throughout the game has helped them win the game. Sesko comes on, stops the ball going to Konate. And Mbeumo there is very narrow, as we've highlighted. He then takes a risk, throws it back. Because he's narrow, he can close the goalkeeper down and make it difficult for him. Now, we just stop it now. Now, the first clips we were showing was Manchester United going direct. OK? This is still the same situation. It doesn't matter that it's the Liverpool goalkeeper going direct or it was the Manchester United goalkeeper going direct. There's a challenge to be won here, and you need bodies around the ball for the second ball. So we've seen Virgil van Dijk headed before. This time it's Harry Maguire. And what do Manchester United have again? Like we saw on the first goal and another opportunity for Mason Mount, they've got players around the ball and narrow, which gives them an opportunity to pick up the second ball, then go from there. So we've seen the small detail on the throw-in and the big detail that's been mentioned a lot from Ruben Amorim in the game about going direct, second balls, then they get the corner, and that's where the 2-1 comes from.
So, Gary, where does the goal come from?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been looking a little bit at set pieces, and you have a we spoke a bit about Nottingham Forest and whether you go man for man or because you put yourself at risk of penalties from VAR now, marking, or whether you go zonal. So Liverpool are a bit of both. But if you keep your eye on Szoboszlai at the back, he's in the back zone. He ends up
where he is, Gary.
Yep. So Szoboszlai is here. He should have a circle on him in a moment. He is the back zone man. I know he ends up being a little bit occupied by De Ligt. And then you look at the other two in Gakpo and Curtis Jones, who are also involved in this back area of the pitch. They're both markers, but they're both at the back. So they're responsible for the back of the goal. And then as it develops, you just see the tendencies of the players and what they're thinking and probably the state of the game. And the second phase of set plays are really difficult to coach because if it holds now, you can see Szoboszlai is still in not a bad spot. He's still sort of responsible for this back area. But because he's not a left back, he's going to start to drift into this area. Gakpo's thinking about counter-attacking. Curtis Jones is thinking about counter-attacking. And then before you know it, unbelievable quality from Bruno Fernandes. But you end up with 3 Man United players at the back zone. If you look at Szoboszlai now, and Curtis Jones has now realised that I've gone to counter-attack here, but we've not finished defending yet. So there's that little grey area around, is it still a set play or are we into open play yet? But this is still a set play. You can see where Szoboszlai ends up. And Man United get any one of them 3 could have headed that in at the back post. So that little crossover between set play and open play is very, very difficult to deal with. We always coach where Szoboszlai should stay and be responsible for the back zone until this phase is finished. And he ends up in the middle of the pitch, probably because he's a midfielder. And that's where he's used to being. And it gets Man United a famous victory at Anfield.
What do Manchester United take from this? You said that, in terms of the system, there has to be more tweaks in terms of dominating teams and getting on top of sides. But do you think this will just breed confidence through the club that could take them in the right direction?
I think as pundits we can always find something to criticise managers and teams for. I think firstly you have to give him massive credit because it's a huge result. You go to Anfield and Amorim needs results. Like, let's be honest, it's not all about style at the minute for Ruben Amorim. They need some results. So top result, but now can we get Manchester United back to where they were when we were growing up? For me, it's going to take a bit more than what we saw at Anfield the other day.
And I'm not sure anyone really expected this in terms of Liverpool, Jamie, given how impressive they were last season, winning the Premier League in Arne Slot's, and that huge investment in the summer. But has that almost created more confusion than it's solved problems?
Yeah, I think every Liverpool supporter's been sort of having sleepless nights trying to work out what Liverpool should be doing, the system they play, what players they use, the players they brought to the club. And I'm sure the manager's feeling exactly the same. But I've mentioned the last couple of weeks, Liverpool's summer transfer business didn't feel Liverpool-like. It felt Real Madrid-like in terms of actually going to buy the most expensive players or the best players on the market in the positions that you want and paying top dollar. Now, what we saw yesterday was Ekitike, who's been Liverpool's best signing, on the bench, and Wirtz on the bench. Now, I think Gary will know this better than me, but when you spend that type of money on players, the people who've spent the money they want to see that money on the pitch. You know, and that's a big problem for them.
Money, did you?
I haven't spent any money yet. Made a huge profit, just for the record.
I mean, have you had a situation?
Yeah, so
like
we did have it. It's very different, obviously. But when I was at Wolves, we did a lot of work. We had some real success in our first season playing Mario Lemina and João Gomez as the 2. And then in the summer, we made Mario Lemina captain. And then 10 days or 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, Andre arrives from Brazil. Top signing, top midfielder. Loved him to bits. But now we have this conundrum of I've got my captain, who plays centre midfield. I've got João Gomez, who's been excellent. And I've got Andre. So do I change the system? So we tried changing the system. Didn't really work. Can I leave my captain out to get Andre in? Difficult one. Do I leave João out, who's been excellent for me since I've got here? So Arne Slot will be thinking about this, I'm guessing, a lot. Yeah. You know, he'll go training, he'll think about training, and he'll come in and he'll sit in his office and he'll look at his whiteboard and he'll just be thinking, how do I move these bits around to get these in and win football matches?
And Wirtz in the same side.
I was probably one of the few people who wasn't big on Isak coming into the club because I thought it would be a problem when you buy a guy, Ekitike, for 80 million and another guy for 125 million. And it's not actually good for Isak having Ekitike on the bench because he's always looking over his shoulder. He can never relax. He knows if he hasn't done something in the first hour, he's probably going to come off. Now, I think Arne Slot, as you're saying, how can he get the two of them on the pitch? I think he's got to find a way, not every week, of getting the two of those players on the pitch. Like
then? Let's have a look.
Well, listen, I'm thinking of the big money signings who were on the bench at the weekend, and namely Wirtz. So I'm trying to rack my brains as well as a Liverpool supporter what Liverpool could do. Now, I've took Gakpo out there.
Ruthless.
Yeah, but listen, he played really well yesterday, and Szoboszlai would find a place somewhere in the team, but we're concentrating specifically on this attack. So Isak and Ekitike, at some stage, he's got to try and make that work. Now, I go back to what I said before, it was a Real Madrid summer. I think Arne Slot almost has to be a Real Madrid manager, and I put myself up, he maybe put himself in the shoes of maybe Carlo Ancelotti, who every summer, whether that was at Chelsea, Real Madrid or AC Milan, they'd have big money signed and he'd have to make it work, and he would alter it to suit it. So perfect example is, he wins the Champions League a few seasons ago with Karim Benzema as the striker, Ballon d'Or winner. Benzema goes to Saudi, he ends up playing Bellingham as a false nine. It's a completely different way of doing things. So I look at Wirtz being maybe in that position, tucked in. And the reason I'm saying this is because it's about getting the money on the pitch. So Wirtz, you can't keep on the bench forever. So we've highlighted a few weeks ago, in that left channel there, inside, where he plays for Germany, where he played for Leverkusen in that back three system. Ekitike at times, and Isak off him there. And also playing Wirtz there, could that maybe get Carragher higher up the pitch? Because we all know, as Gary knows, the game now is about almost getting that front five up there. So maybe Wirtz comes inside in that position. Carragher, another signing, maybe opens the space for him to come in. And you get Ekitike, maybe Salah or Frimpong on that right side. But I'm trying to think as a manager, and you'll know this better than me, when you've spent big money, you have to find a way of getting these players in the team. And Carlo Ancelotti was the absolute master at this.
Yeah, and I think
5 and a 5.
Yeah, and I think it could suit Wirtz, because obviously the Premier League is definitely going to be more physical than what he's been used to, and maybe some of the criticism aimed at him, or some of the reason that he's been ended up on the bench, is adapting to the physicality of the Premier League. So maybe if he operates wide and drifts into pockets rather than being someone that's in there around midfielders all the time, maybe he'll get a bit more freedom. You've seen Thomas Frank doing it a little bit with the boy they signed from Leipzig.
Yeah.
Simmons.
Yeah.
So they've tried to do that with him. So maybe it gives him a bit more freedom to arrive off the side and drop into things rather than being in the middle of the pitch all the time. I think it definitely suits the three at the back. And Carragher hasn't shown his Bournemouth form yet, so maybe giving him that licence to go around people will get him involved. But the key, as Jamie said, to get back to the point, is can we get these two on the pitch? Because both top number 9s, can we get them close to each other and combine them?
And that's the interesting thing, I think, with this Liverpool summer. Liverpool's summer in the past, they've always been about a planning. You almost knew what it is. But when you actually see where Liverpool, what they ended up with at the end of the game, with Wirtz playing central midfield, it looked a bit of a mess on paper. It didn't actually transform to be a mess in terms of Manchester United going forward, having lots of chances. I don't think it felt like that. But it's going to be really interesting how he gets Ekitike, Isak and Wirtz in the team at the same time, because at some stage he has to, because he's paid that much money for them.
Feels like one of the most interesting stories.